Hello, my name is Marcela Gonzalez, and I'm the Director of Partner Success at Vonage. Today, I come to you from the Alliance of Channel Women, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee, where we are highlighting the May theme of Ignite Her. This month, we are talking about innovation and technology trends. We are exploring the latest trends in innovation and technology, showcasing the influential role women play in shaping the future of the industry. Today, we will be speaking with Meg Thomspon, Managing Director of Sales Engineering at Crown Castle. Hi, Meg. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Marcela. Good morning. Thank you.
Meg, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do at Crown Castle?
Sure. So I've been at Crown Castle for 16 years, as long as I've ever done anything. I feel like I grew up here because I started in my very early 20s. I mean, I started my career in the NOC, doing customer support on nights, weekends, holidays, daylight savings, baseball playoffs, every possible life event. I was in the NOC, and then I managed the provisioning implementation team for several years before transitioning into sales engineering. Sales engineering has been amazing. I love the engineering team. Today, I have 3 teams that are part of my organization. I have the channel, of course, which I love. It's a new group, and it's been growing and growing and growing, and I'm excited to be part of that growth. And I also have our managed services engineering organization, which is also new and growing and also responsible for all emerging technology. So I'm excited that we're going to be talking about the evolution of technology today. That's near and dear to me. And then lastly, our GEM team, so government, education, medical, they manage a lot of the RFPs and like standard responses and things like that. So 3 totally different realms of technology and engineering, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's phenomenal. Very, very technical background. That's great to hear from you, especially for this month. So can you tell us a little bit about your disability and what the term invisible disability means to you?
Sure. So I'm hard of hearing. I've been fully deaf on my left side since I was 15. And over COVID, since people started wearing masks, I very quickly realized I could not hear anybody, and how much I relied on like reading people. And I had to realize that my kids quickly picked up on it because they would answer people for me. Like I would go into restaurants and try to anticipate when a server was going to ask, and they would like ask me how many kids menus or something, like, do you want a booth or a table? And I would say 5. My like 8-year-old daughter, we need 2 kids menus. So yeah, my right ear had some conductive hearing loss, but I don't know when that started. I guess I adopted to it and didn't realize it until COVID, but technology's come a long way, and I wear hearing aids that hear for my left side and amplify for my right side, and it's made a big difference for me.
Yeah, all the little things that COVID took away from us. You don't really think about the massive changes. So what do you wish people knew about the spectrum of disability?
Yeah, that it's a spectrum and it shows up so differently for different people. Like for me, in a one-on-one conversation like this, I hear okay. I have really loud, like Bluetooth earbuds that I use with my laptop. I use my hearing aids socially. I can usually hear a conversation one-on-one like this really well. If somebody's seated on my left side, because that's my deaf side, even with the hearing aids, I'm going to be a little spotty hearing them. I'll know that they're there and talking to me. Before hearing aids, I would just completely ignore people because I didn't hear them. And then it startled me because somebody next to me talking to me. But that's how it shows up for me. And it's totally different than somebody that might be profoundly deaf and not able to use hearing aids, or in need of cochlear implant, or decide they don't want to go down that road. It shows up very, very differently for me than for somebody else. And that applies to all unseen disabilities, including like visual disabilities, or even like neurodivergence. That I have a neurodivergent child, how it shows up for him is very different how it shows up for other students, even other classmates and other children that have similar diagnoses that he does. They all respond differently to different learning styles and different supports, and same with me. So I think society likes to put people in buckets. It's easier to classify people in groups, but what applies to me and to another person is going to be a totally different conversation for somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, in the DE&I space specifically, or particularly, we're learning that so much is on a spectrum, right? Everything is on a spectrum, and you can't treat everyone with the blanket. You have to really individualize, treat everyone as a unique person. And I think that's something really important to think about with every single new person you meet, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you need to, or do you have a way that you introduce your disability with people, or do you just go about a normal conversation without having to call it out?
Yeah, it's evolved for me a bit over the past 3-4 years. I used to avoid telling people as best possible. And I would just move myself in rooms and in conversations and place myself in places that I could hear everybody, or at least I thought I could hear people. Retrospectively, I'm finding out I thought I could hear everybody, but I totally did not hear everybody. There were people talking to me that I've slightly ignored. One of the people on my team now worked with me for a solid year and thought that I just did not like him, that I would ignore him. But he has a very low voice. He's a bit soft-spoken. And with conductive hearing loss, it's the low tones that I don't hear. So I just genuinely wasn't hearing it. I mean, now that I can hear him, he's hysterical. He's an awesome dude. Like, his jokes are funny. I couldn't hear him. I didn't even know he was speaking to me. So in like today, I don't know what prompted it. I give ACW a lot of credit for being such an empowering organization of women that support women in all of their journeys. And part of being with the events committee, I've listened and participated, and now I've been speaking, and it's been a journey. So I'm a lot more open talking about it. I even go so far as like taking off my hearing aids and showing people things, because people don't understand until they see it. Sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And it helps the conversation move forward. Or I was at a lunch Wednesday and I genuinely could not hear the woman to my left. And she was wonderful and she wanted to talk to me, and I just couldn't. And I told her, I was like, I have a hearing disability. I can't hear you. And then we spoke after, but
yeah,
it goes a bunch of different ways. And there's some people that I'll avoid telling to, because I don't want to get the deaf jokes.
Oh, no.
There's always the worst. And my dad does it the most, is if I tell someone I can't hear them, they respond to say, what?
Oh, no.
And my blood pressure goes to max. But my dad is the number one offender. So
okay, so what are some changes that we can do in the world to support those we work with and love who may be living with a disability? We should not make deaf jokes.
Yeah, I'll start with that. Let's not make a joke immediately when someone tells you something personal. I know a lot of people do it, as a defense mechanism. Like, they're slightly uncomfortable, so they make a joke. I know it's not personal. It can be like womp womp after hearing the same joke 7, 8, 9, 20 times. For me, as a people leader, I challenge myself to advocate for my team and advocate for them, even not knowing what people might need. So I try to structure all of my meetings in a way that there's an agenda and expectations laid out early on, so that it's the most accommodating for a very introverted personality, or for someone with like an anxiety disorder or any sort of mental health concern that, they might hesitate before participating in a meeting or be uncomfortable. It gives them a little bit more space to be able to participate, or time block and give everybody a specific amount of time so that everyone can have space to participate. I'm a big advocate for captioning. It's important to me. I'm part of the hard of hearing community, but those that aren't can also support teammates that may or may not be comfortable talking about it by ensuring that there's captioning available. Captioning's come a long way on social media. I think captioning could still improve significantly in education and even in business too. So just little things like that, like making sure that a conversation or a meeting or any sort of media is accessible to people, even if you don't personally need it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of closed captioning. We keep it on the TV. I would love to be able to have closed captioning, and I'm not part of the hard of hearing community. So it's absolutely something that I think everybody can benefit from. I agree. So what are some common misconceptions about invisible disabilities, and how can technology help dispel these myths?
One common misconception and one that I'm kind of chirping about lately is that an accommodation, I even hate the word accommodation, like requesting something like captioning is not an accommodation for me or for like a profoundly deaf teammate. It's a tool no different than our laptop or our monitors. It's a tool that we are given to enable us to be successful at our work and bring value to our organization. So I think taking the lens away from it being something an individual needs like selfishly and turn it into point of view of it being a tool for like professionally for an organization to provide to their teammates, even proactively make available to their teammates to give everybody the opportunity to be wildly successful for that business. I think that would go a long way and create a more inclusive environment, which then in turn leads to like higher performance and a more successful business.
Yeah, being so many of us in the telecom community, we absolutely need to be advocating for our own companies to advance to invest in these tech advancements like closed captioning and things that would really bring light to folks with disabilities and even like myself who just would enjoy that. You would be surprised as to how deep that would be. Yeah. Beneficial that would be to the product. I agree. So can you share some other technological advancements that have transformed the lives of people with invisible disabilities?
Yeah, well, I guess specific to me, my hearing aids have evolved significantly over the past, 10, 15 years. When I first was fitted for a cross hearing aid, which is like my left side's completely deaf. So the hearing aid was on my left ear and in my right ear, but it was early in Bluetooth. So it would go really deep into the ear and try to use bone conduction for my right ear to hear it. But it was terrible. It was so uncomfortable. I returned them. I abandoned that. And then I just took the lens not the lens, but the practice of stitching myself in room. So I thought I could hear everybody. But now they are, they're pink. So as a 30-year-old woman, I'm 30 for 2 more months. As a woman still in her 30s for 2 more months, I am very happy to be wearing pink hearing aids. They use Bluetooth to communicate to each other. So my right ear pretty clearly hears what's going on the left. It sounds a little mechanical, but I can tell that it's coming from that side. I used to have to turn my head like sonar to try to figure out where things are coming from. I still do that sometimes. Like a dolphin or something. It connects to my phone. So my iPhone has accessibility settings where it connects immediately to my hearing aids, and then I'll ring into them, and then the audio will come over them. So I can hold it and use it like a speakerphone, but I can't hear a speakerphone to save my life. It streams directly into my ears, and it can even stream music directly into my ears. That they've come a really long way, and they're small and they're rechargeable. I don't know if you remember the days of peeling open a pack of tiny hearing aid batteries and just dropping them or forgetting to buy them. Forget it. They're rechargeable, they're Bluetooth enabled. Apple's done a great job integrating it into their phone and their iOS. So that's come a really long way. I think captioning's come a really long way too. TikToks are auto caption. People don't have to put the effort into it. When you make it easy and you just click a button to turn it on, people are more likely to do it. If people had to manually write out their captions, there would be hardly any, TikTok videos or reels or anything that were captioned. So auto captioning's come a really long way. Hearing aid technology's come a really long way. Just way people communicate. It's and like FaceTiming and things like that. It's come a really, and even FaceTime, like if you're profoundly deaf, you can sign to each other over FaceTime. It's come so far in the ways that we're able to communicate, even over the past 15 years. And it's fantastic. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen over the next 15.
Yeah. Even just these video calls, like,
yeah.
Speaking of COVID and digital transformation, now we're all just used to having our cameras on. And yeah. Have there been many advancements in AI to come and support? I believe many of those captions are built off of AI. So what other advancements in AI have brought into the intersection of accessibility?
Yeah, definitely the auto captioning. That's huge. I think that goes really far in making social media accessible. With visual disabilities, I've noticed that text messages can be read back to you. Like Siri can read you back your text message, but it'll describe to you your image as well, which is amazing. For someone that might have a visual disability or any sort of visual limitations where they're not able to see the pictures clearly, or like a PowerPoint slide, those are all visual, right? And for a screen reader to be able to read those and also describe the picture, we didn't have that capability 10 years ago. So again, it goes to making accessibility easy and automatic. So artificial intelligence has come a long way with that spectrum of disorder. With the learning disabilities, but the opportunities in the schools have come a really long way too, and enable educators to have a more inclusive classroom and educate like standard learning children and those that might have like an IEP to learn together, like different tools available to them in the classroom, like the smart board and various other things. So it's exciting to see, how far things have come, even from when I was in school with chalkboards,
The projectors, the overhead.
Yes. The projector and the clear plastic, the glory. Yeah.
They're all over their head.
If you couldn't see in the back of the room, that's just too bad for you. You're not going to learn today.
That was me,
Yeah.
Sitting at the front. With your neurodivergent child, do you see any advancements in that spectrum of disorder as well, in technology? The smart boards you mentioned.
The smart boards, all of the digital learning. So our school district provides Chromebooks to not just to him, but to both my kids. And there's so many different learning programs in there. Like he had a science learning, like if you tell him to sit down and read a social studies textbook, it will not happen. I can tell you, he will not read that passage. He will not care who was president 100 years ago. That information is not going to be absorbed by him. But there's I don't even know how to describe it, like a smart e-learning with like little, the information is more segmented and there's little information checks along the way. And it's captioned, and then there's like graphics, and it makes it so much more accessible to a student like him. And not even just him, but a child with like an attention deficit or hyperactivity or like a visual disability or a hearing disability. There's so many different ways for them to consume the information than just a textbook. I think and then it also, it doesn't entirely eliminate, but it moves in the direction of eliminating the need to separate the kids. Because what's worse for a kid with a learning disability to be removed from the room and taken out into a different room? Yeah, like the scarlet letter on their chest, like I'm different. That's horrible for a child in a socially challenged environment. So I love that they're able to be included in the room. They even call it the inclusion room because they're standard learning children and children with IEPs, and they're able to learn together. And they might use the same kind of e-learnings, or they might use different e-learnings. As long as they absorb the information and learn the subject, then that's okay. And I love that we're able to teach kids like that today.
I mean, going back to the spectrum and just treating everyone like a unique individual, it sounds like as a culture, we both live in New York State. As a culture, we have come a long way in making sure that we are highlighting or doing, not just using technology, but also just making sure that we know that there is inclusion everywhere, that not everybody is the same, and modifying the way we address people. You know, you also mentioned the pictures. I've noticed a lot of people on social media describing their pictures. So, you know, you're not using tech to do that, but you are just being aware that not everybody is the same and modifying the way that you interact with the world to make sure that that's accommodating for everyone. Maybe sometimes I just don't understand what I'm looking at and I need you to explain it to me. So, you know, there's always going to be benefits to viewing the world this way. And I'm so glad to be representing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, because I think that really encompasses what we've talked about today. So Thank you so much, Meg, for sitting down with me. It was great to meet you.
Thank you, Marcela. This was great. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this with you.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.